Okay, so as you know, Colonies has been on alpha testing in Board Game Arena. I have played a few games and found no bugs, which is, it's like, I don't know. I'll remember you that alpha is before beta in testing, and when we get a beta testing in Steam, it's just a comedy, basically. It's like unit testing. But it's an alpha tasting. I played two games with no bugs, and you can just go for it, honestly. So to me, Colonies is basically released, and I wanted to do a series of videos on Colonies, and so the first one is this, which is the top 10 meta changes when you play Colonies. So you're probably very used to playing Prelude, very used to playing Prelude and Venus. You like you probably don't unless you like played like a good group with for the tabletop. Haven't played as much Colonies. Like it's the case with myself because I don't have people to play tabletop, which is really sad. Fuck you, Eric. But so the idea is to like make a list of the things that I think changed a lot when on the meta when you play with Colonies. Okay, so let's start with number 10. And number 10 is that Venus is good and bad. So, Venus is good for colonies, but colonies is bad for Venus. So, that's a general interaction. When you add colonies, Venus strategies get weaker, but when you add Venus, colony strategies get stronger. And the reason for that is Venus really relies on the Venus terraforming cards, and just adding 49 cards just really reduces that card density a lot. And none of those cards have anything to do with Venus, right? The reason colonies gets better is because the floater cards in Venus actually have a pretty good interaction with things like the Titan colony and some of the Jovian floater cards. And also stratospheric birds and Venusian animals. I mean, those are two cards that, and Venusian insects too. Those are the three cards that are like you need to terraform Venus to get there for sure. So, like I said, the terraform Venus is harder, but if you do, these are great cards for Miranda and Enceladus. You need point cards if you're gonna go for a floater and animal strategy, and Venus just adds a lot of them, a lot better than the base game. So that's number 10. Number 9, rushing is really hard. So first of all, you'd probably need one of the Russian colonies in the game, which are Io and Ganymede, or both. Second of all, this deck adds just pretty much 49 cards that don't help rushing, except for solar reflectors. So it adds 48 bad cards for rushing that are either like they do have production but nothing else, or they are just good for like a long term strategy. And it adds one card that is good for rushing, which is Solar Reflectors, which I actually really like. And so, yeah, it's just rushing. It's a lot harder with this dilution of the deck. If you're adding Venus too, it's even worse. But on you won't be able on board game arena because there's no Venus. But yeah, other than that, it also like it adds so many good cards to like and colonies like Pluto and Luna to a cash strategy that you'll figure out that you don't want to do a pure rush. Like you may want to do a little ground game and a little like economy and point cards too. Uh, Maybe add a lot of cities, animals, and floaters, because it's just really hard to rush the game with it. At number 8, Jovians and Floaters are much better. I already touched on that with Venus a little, but for Jovians, there's 7 new ones here out of 49, which is a 1 in 7, which is much better than the 12 in 208 in the base game or the 2 in 49 in Venus. So just the fact that Jovians really depend on synergy, and these ones are particularly like synergic, and they're all floater related pretty much. I think all of them, yeah. They add a lot of synergy, and just Jovian strategy gets better in general. And floater strategy gets a lot better because you have a floater colony, which is the best of the standard resource colonies, if you ask me. And also all these Jovian cards, you have another 1 to 2 point, which is Jovian lanterns. You have some good economy cards like Titan shuttles, and even like things like drawing cards like Red Spot Observatory. So yeah, Jovian Floater, in my opinion, are two strategies that get a lot better. At number 7, and the thing here is to keep in mind that there are new best cards in the game cards. So usually, you think of things like Mars University, AI Central, uh, Earth Catapult, and things like that as the best cards in the game. Prelude doesn't add anything that gets even close to competing with that. Like Sacrifice is fine, but it's not the best card in the game, right? And then Venus, not either. Like there's some good production cards, some nice animals and microbes. It's got some very nice ones, but a lot of the Venus stuff is actually really weak. And in my opinion, the best card is Atmos Coop, and it's a 4 point card. It's a Jovian. You know, it's no better than a lot of the other Jovians. There are two cards here, Skyducks and Spaceport Colonies, which I just throw on the maybe the best card in the game discussion, like immediately. Spaceport Colony is insane. Like it lets you double up on a colony, which is something extremely valuable in the game, especially in two-player, where that third spot is always going to be available unless your opponent already double up with the other card. It places the colony for 27, so you're only playing 10 more for the ability to place an additional colony. It gives you an extra trade fleet, which is infinite value. If you get an extra trade fleet and your opponent doesn't, you're blocking the best two colonies every time you trade first, which leaves your opponent with like very shitty options. It's a killer. So every other turn, he's going to his third favorite colony, which is crap. And you're also like whenever he goes first, he's usually gonna hit like Luna, which you're both competing with, and you're gonna hit like you're gonna milk the colonies that like the Ios, which are gonna be sitting on 8 and 10 and 13 with your second trade fleet. So second trade fleets are insane, which is why also and it also gives you 2 points per colony, which is less valuable in the two-player, but you still might get 2 points here. Two colonies per person is not crazy. I've got an 8 out of it in a two-player game, but that's because we like colonies. Sorry, eight divided by 2, so 4. We have 8 colonies total. But yeah, this card is insane. Might be the best card in the game. I also love Skydogs. Here's Skydogs. It's a research outpost, but instead of a city, it gives you an extra trade fleet. And again, you do need like the extra energy for this, but I already explained why the extra trade fleet is awesome. It has an earth requirement, but it also comes with some nice stacks, and it comes with points, automatic points, which is like insane to me. I don't know, like you could really not add the points, and it would have been fine. It has other things like spin off department. This card is insane. Like it draws you so many cards late in the game, and it gives you almost the same production as acquired company. So I consider that to be insane. The colony placing cards are usually very efficient. You have the science colony, which comes with 2 cards, and research colony, and it also lets you double up, which, like I said, is really important. Maybe that's not at goat level, but it's close. And then I also love trading colony and trade envoys. That these +1, you be surprised how much you get out of it. If you get both, everything is insane and you win the game. So yeah, new best cards. You have to you see Earth Catapult and one of these cards, and you have to think about things which you didn't used to, and you didn't It's not something that happened in any other expansion. The turmoil cards, I love turmoil, but the turmoil cards are fine. They're not none of them is broken. So yeah. Okay. At 6, the tag proportions changed. And so this is going to affect a lot of your strategies. Because Colony adds 19 space tags. to only 3 steel tags, for example. So that makes like titanium production more important than steel in colonies by a lot, and it also makes things like builder a little harder, and just steel focused things a little worse. It also only adds 4 green tags, 3 of which are on the same card, which is not a card that I really like. Only one energy producer, which we'll get into that. That's gonna come up. Just add 9 science, so that's a nice proportion for science. 7 Jovian, which is huge, and more importantly, 10 earth. And the earth cards here, there's a lot of good production cards. Things like heavy taxation and Lunar Governor, which are double earth tax and lunar exports, lunar mining, earth elevator, all beautiful earth tax, and the aforementioned skydogs. So earth strategies just get better. Cards like cartel get better, and they already got better with Venus, because in Venus you have like Caesar planet support and things like that. So yeah, good for earth tax and space tax. Very good also for Jovian and science. Really bad for ground game like steel, energy, and greeneries suffer. Sorry, green tags. So new tag proportion, you have to like reconsider that kind of thing. Builder is harder to get. Steel is weaker. Uh, Titanium is better. Earth strategies are better. Point Luna is better. Terractor is better, right? Chunching is weaker. So do all those adjustments, just like what you'd expect out of the tag proportions. Now those proportions change slightly. And also number 5, card value changes considerably, I think, for some cards. We'll talk about energy later, like I said. But things like, for example, steel, if Sirius is in, is less important. If Pluto is in, card draw is like you wouldn't prioritize IA Central as much, even though it's one of the best cards in the game, because you'd rather go for Pluto, where you're also like competing for trust with your opponent. Like if you play IA Central and just leave them Pluto, like he's doing better than you every turn. So yeah, just a lot of cards change value, and that's gonna be depending on the available colonies. Plant cards, if Ganymede is around, get better. The early plant cards, right? Because like it's, in my opinion, it's like it's not like with Ceres where you never need as much steel. Uh, it is like if you get an initial prime production, you might be closer to hitting your greenery every turn. Floater cards, they all get better if Titan is there, especially the economy ones. I mean, things like local shading and aerial mappers are a lot better, and dirigibles, because they're like the economy and cargo ones, which are good early, and floating hubs can be crazy late. Obviously, all the cards that uh, colonies introduces are also better when Titan is in, which are a lot. But yeah, the just something to keep in mind: the colonies really changed the net value of cards. Okay, at number 4, this corporation, which you've always hated, is now good. Uh, Thorgate becomes awesome. I'm not gonna say broken or anything. Maybe it goes to the always solid tier for me or something like that. With colonies, or maybe mid. To be honest, it's still an ability that you don't use enough. But the fact that you can get there early and reliably, it's huge. And you start with 1 energy production, right? And just energy just becomes better, and so uh, Thorgate just becomes a very good corporation in my opinion. One of the games I played with it and I won easy. If you get the second trade fleet, then even more, because you can get easily to like the 6 energy you need with Thorgate after in the mid game, right? You'll probably have seen some energy cards that you play for cheaper, and with a second trade fleet, this corporation is, like, I would say, always solid. With only the one, it probably stays in mid. Maybe I'm a bit too high on it, but Target just like it's wildly changed by uh, having colonies in the game. At number 3, Okay, I'm gonna sound like a broken record here, but I think Aridor will be maybe competing for the top spot as the best corporation in board game arena. Remember, there's no Venus in there, so there's no Manutech. So that's really a fight between Director, Vitor, Credicore, and Point Luna. I think Vitor and Point Luna are probably the best two of those. But yeah, I think Aridor will jump in there, and in my opinion, it could be the best. I think I've gotten higher and higher on it. And my reason for that is the fact that it can just bring in Pluto, and the fact that their economy is the most insane one, as you've seen in that video that is up there. And it's just gonna, I think, I don't know how well the community rates it. For what I've seen in my videos and my polls and the Mars Corp fight where it lost disgracefully, not that high. And I think I'm really high on it, and I think it is that good. I just think it is that good, especially with preludes where you can get all those tags in. So I think it's gonna be a little like Minotech, but maybe not as much. Where like we all knew it was good, we all knew it was fun, but when it came to Steam and you got a bunch of games with it, you realized, okay, this shit is broken. I think we could have something like that with Aridor, with a little, not as much as Manatech. So we're not gonna realize it's broken. We're gonna realize it's maybe the best one of the available ones or competing for that spot. Okay, at number 2, you need to keep in mind that Milestones and Awards are changing. So, Minor becomes a bit harder, not a lot, but a bit if you introduce Venus then a lot, which is not going to be possible. Hoverlord becomes a joke. Like if you get any card that can take in, what do you call them? Floaters, then one colony and a trade gets you there. Like, it's a joke. Like, Hoverlord grows immediately. Of course, you have to have Venus for that, which again won't happen in BGA, but I'll just mention it anyway. Thermalist for the awards. Thermalist. Sorry, I think I said minor. I meant builder for the first one. Thermalist is very, very flippable if IO is in play, and the same thing goes for industrialist if series is in play, and minor if series, or less so Titan because it's like half the microbes. The resources. You'll get 6 with Triton and 12 with series. But that's like those awards are like pretty much untakeable if those colonies are in game. And like if you do, you might have to trade there in the last generation and just get nothing out of that. So yeah, industrialist, minor, and thermalist to me are awards that are like not takeable. And builder becomes harder. Hoverlord becomes a joke. And finally, at number 1, I've mentioned this like 7 times in the video, but energy is now just king. It's just a much better resource, and it's a lot more important, so all energy cards are better. The standard product energy is slightly better, even though it's still extremely expensive. But if you're missing 1 energy to like start your trading, it's a no-brainer to do the standard product. 2 could be too much. Cards like Giant Space Mirror, where you would look at them and go, okay, it gives me 3 energy at a very efficient cost, under 7, which 7 is like the going rate for energy, right? But I don't really need 3, so I'm not gonna, this is now a great card. The Prelude Power Infrastructure, one of the best preludes in the game now. And things like Power Plant, the card, and Geothermal Power. And Geothermal Power was one of those where, okay, I mean, I need 1 energy to play, I don't know, Development Center, but do I want to get 2 and pay 7 more for that? And so you hesitate with those cards in the draft. With energy being what it is, in that not only is it awesome, but even if you have it, you want to block it so your opponent doesn't get in the trade. All of these cards are better. Even the things like Fusion Power and Tectonic Stretch Power. Well, first of all, the one with the 2 energy tax requirement is going to be a lot easier to get down now, so it becomes a lot better. And the one that gives you 3 for 2 science tags, like yeah, again, it's fully worth it right now. So yeah, energy just becomes a much better resources, and all energy cards pretty much become better for it. Especially the ones that gave you, like I said, 2 or 3 energy. Like power plant was always good, solar wind power was always good. But now these cards that give you 2 and 3 power, they're too awesome, basically. And the preludes also become better. Supplier also a great prelude to begin the game with, and the one with the ocean too. So yeah. Anyway, that's my top 10 meta changes for the colonies expansion available on Board Game Arena. And yeah, see you next time.